Vlahovic, Kane, Osimhen, Højlund. You screw all that up and throw that right in the bin with the way things are going right now with this football club. Manchester United, not only Manchester United in crisis, we're going to talk about Sir Jim's other club. We're going to do a bit of exposure this morning. Guys, this is the United Stand. This is the start to your week and everything Manchester United. I was back with you last Monday talking about everything that was coming last week. Annoyed, angry. Your voices were heard on the show. You were pretty much on the same page I was. We're not happy with where the ownership is. It was another good weekend for United on the pitch. Completely blown out the water by what's going on off it. Again, it's crap. It's annoying, and it really is getting on my last nerve right now. Guys, get your comments in. Let's get through this again. We're going to go a little bit different this morning. There has been news on Sir Jim Ratcliffe and, well, pretty much a crisis in Nice. The thumbnail says it all. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the possible owner of Manchester United, when all is said and done and this saga does finally come to an end, he's one of the people that could be running our football club. Now, you look at it, you break it down, you go, what can Sir Jim bring to Manchester United? Prime example of an idea of what might be coming is what's happening at Nice right now. And when you delve into it and you go into a little bit of detail, as we would as football fans, we do a little bit of homework. We do it on this show as well. But why is Dante coming out, the club captain of Nice, saying that there is unrest behind the scenes? No cohesion is the word that Dante's used from top to bottom of the football club. And you're thinking, why is that? And you're like, why is your club captain? First of all, I mean, a red flag for me straight away is, why is there a 39-year-old a captain of your football club? A 39-year-old has been. No disrespect to Dante. He's done his time. He's had a good career. But a 39-year-old is your club captain. You've been in charge of that football club and owned that football club, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, for over 4 years now. And as a 39-year-old as your captain. That straight away to me goes, ding, ding, alarm bells ringing. And why? We're supposed to be the richest man in Great Britain. He is supposed to be the man that took Nice to challenging the likes of PSG, Lyon at the time, who were good. And, well, let's look at it. Let's break down the detail of what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has achieved at Nice since he's been in charge there. I mean, you look at it and you go, right, 2019, Sir Jim Ratcliffe took charge of Nice. Let's just look, the 6 years before Sir Jim Ratcliffe took charge, Nice were seen in many eyes and many football experts' eyes as the best run club in France. 3 times in the 6 years before Sir Jim Ratcliffe took charge of Nice, they finished in the top 4. Not once have Nice finished in the top 4 under Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Not once have they lifted a trophy or any piece of silverware. Where is that money going? What is going on behind the scenes at Nice? Super chat in from Robert McCormack. Rob, how are you doing? Good to see you with us this morning again. Regular super chatter. Would you want the Glazers choosing the captain? Would I want the Glazers choosing... That's Rob. Up your game, mate. No. Ask me a decent question. Cheers for the super chat, though, pal. But yeah, let's get back to Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Nice. I mean, guys, get your comments in on this as well. I'm looking at it and I was reading up on everything Nice-wise, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And it just, I can't help but feel like it's just an absolute nightmare waiting to happen for Manchester United right now. If this is how he runs his football clubs, and if you delve into what is going on at Nice, Sir David Brailsford, as good as he is with bikes and that racing team that they've got and what they own, brilliant, top of their game. And I was on a show here on United Stand and I was talking about Sir David Brailsford being best in class. And then a few people pointed me in the right direction as to what he's been like while he's been in his role at Nice. Not so good. Not so good. So educated myself, come back with some more facts on what's gone on. So that 6-year period building up to Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking charge of Nice, obviously, well-run club, was seen as the best-run club in France, like I said. They were the ones that were looking to challenge. And if you thought a billionaire then coming in would take them to that next level, that's what you would have thought. Everything was there. The whole structure was there at Nice. Brilliant. Like I said, 3 Champions League, 3 top 4 finishes in the 6 years building up to it. People in position at that football club, running that club very well. So David Brailsford comes in and does an audit, basically, And from that audit, Sir Jim Radcliffe's brother, Bob, he was fired. The other sporting director was also fired. And then the messing around, the uncertainty in that transfer market was basically down. And a lot of people have put it down to Sir David Brailsford's involvement in it. Now, like I said, best in class in a certain area and a certain sport. But when it comes to football, you have to really have the experience and know what you're doing. And that, to me, but he just going in and wielding the axe like he did is a bit of a concern. Because Nice is one thing, Manchester United is a completely different entity altogether. And if it goes wrong for United, then you're looking at it going, it's going to go mega wrong for Manchester United. That's what we're looking at right now. If Sir Jim is a decent guy that people say he is, why is he not brave enough to walk away from this nonsense now? He must see how much he is becoming hated and how much the Glazers are hated. These businessmen do not care. That's the end. That's the big be-all and end-all of it. And you look at it, everything that I'm saying here now in terms of how Sir Jim has run Nice, and you look at, and what we want to know is, it's like the investment. Like, where are you investing? What's he changed at Nice? What's he invested in? Straight away, first thing that comes to mind, playing staff. Who's he brought in? Well, you look through the list of it, and I was like looking at it, I'm going, wow. And the best way you could describe it is Premier League has-beens. That's all he's bought. And nearly every single one of them has failed. I mean, I'll read these names out to you right now. Aaron Ramsey, Ross Barkley, Nicola Pepe, Kasper Schmeichel. Fail, 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 fail. Every single one of them. What trees have they pulled up under the stewardship of Sir Jim Radcliffe's run Nice Football Club? Not very nice, is it, Nice? But I look at that and look at them names and I go, yeah, that kind of says everything you need to know. It's scraping the barrel transfer. You're talking about supposedly one of the richest men on the planet. Where's the investment? Is he that rich? Is he only rich in assets? What is he bringing to Manchester United? He's financing this deal through his eyeballs from any which way, and he's banking on Manchester United bringing in a lot of money and a lot of revenue. That's how I look at it. That, to me, is the issue that we've got with Sir Jim Radcliffe coming into Manchester United. Where is the money coming from? I think I said this on a previous show where Sir Jim Radcliffe, yeah, they may turn over between, 60 and 80 billion in EOS, but there will be a lot of overheads on that. That isn't pure profit. That's just turnover. Yeah, and that's great. And that makes you look rich in assets and on paper. But really, in terms of money that's there to be invested into the infrastructure of Manchester United, is that going to have to be financed again? I mean, come on, seriously. That to me is the big concern. And how Nice has been run is a massive concern with that. I mean, the fact that, like we said at the top of the show, Dante has come out in public. That's the club captain. And he's slagging off basically the way that the football club is run. No cohesion means basically no communication. There's no structure, and there's no link from top of the club to bottom. Why is that going to change because it's Manchester United? The club have to be looking at these things. They have to be looking at these issues. The fact that he hasn't been anywhere near, I think he's got to one cup final. Well, he's been there. He's sacked Patrick Vieira. Like I said, Sir David Brailsford sacked former hierarchy at Nice. He's done a lot at that football club, but not a lot of good in what I can see. Surely, with, like we said, the way that club was running, extra investment on top of that, a billionaire coming in and giving them that extra kick, why have they not moved on from finishing fourth? Why has it gone backwards under Sir Jim Radcliffe? Right now, United are at that stage. We're running okay. We've got the right manager in place right now. We've got the nucleus of a decent squad. That's what we're all talking about, and why we need the tweaks and the changes, and why it's a worry for us. Like, I just screwed up that list of strikers then and threw them away. That's the worry for Manchester United fans right now. Luke with a super chat. Sir Jim is another Glazer, a businessman. That's exactly what he is. He is. The Glazers and Sir Jim Radcliffe are cut from the same cloth. They are businessmen who have worked their way up to a certain level, high up there in the business world, billionaire owners of multiple companies, investments all over the place, and they've earned their right to come to the table and bid for football clubs. Does that mean that they are the right people to come and take charge of a football club? Do they have any football background at all before they buy the club? No, they don't. And I see Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming into Manchester United starting exactly the same way as it did when the Glazers took over. We've got a good manager that is going to cover up so many cracks with the way that this club is structured and the way this club is run. Sir Alex Ferguson did it when the Glazers came in, finding players, having to find players and not investing enough money. Sir Alex Ferguson and his team and the scouts we had at Manchester United at the time were lucky enough when the Glazers came in. I think the first signings were Evra and Vidic in a January transfer window. I can remember them coming in, and obviously we know how well they worked out, but in terms of investment, it just was not there. All that was happening was money being taken out of the club, and Sir Alex Ferguson making a midfield work with Tom Cleverley in it, for instance. No disrespect, but Tom Cleverley isn't exactly marquee football. The football club was being run, the team was being run, and everything was successful under Sir Alex Ferguson, and that's why we were able to last so long, because he'd built a structure and the club was run right. And then gradually over time, even Sir Alex Ferguson must have known that the club was deteriorating and the team wasn't going to be able to carry on. He wasn't going to be able to build another team on top of that. So Jim, right now, I feel it's a very, very similar situation, except probably a little bit worse, because we're off the back end of the Glazers and nothing has been built up in terms of structure at the football club. Little tweaks at United have changed recently and it is being run a little bit better. We had a couple of half-decent transfer windows in terms of what we would expect to be coming into United. Ala Sancho, Varane, Ronaldo at the time all seemed very good signings. Last summer was very good, albeit on a company credit card. Is Ten Hag going to get that sort of money again this summer? No, he's not, because it's been well documented. Our purse and what we've got to spend in the window is nowhere near good enough for Ten Hag to take us to that next level. So Jim Ratcliffe, I don't think he's going to change any of that when he comes in. I feel like if Sir Jim got the winning bid, was the preferred bidder, then we'd be still in the same situation now, talking about 100 million transfer budget this summer. Financial fair play dictates a lot in terms of this, and that's not all down to Sir Jim Ratcliffe just being in charge of Manchester United. Obviously, you have to abide by UEFA's financial fair play rules. If the Glazers stay, will you give up your season ticket, says Honest Tiger. No, I won't be giving up my season ticket because I'm not a legacy fan. And I don't want someone coming in, taking my seat and then spending fortunes at the football club, buying stuff from the megastore constantly every single game. That is the stance of every single season ticket holder. So you can look at everyone who's involved, the Red Army, the 58, whoever it may be. They're all keeping their season tickets because they're the voice and they're the people stopping the Glazers getting where they want to. So again, I can see how you've sneakily said that, Super Chat, cheers for the money, but I can see the angle of it, and I get that a lot as a match-going Manchester United fan. But that's my look on it. If I leave, someone else will come in and spend more money for the Glazers. Exactly what they want. They want us all gone and out of our season tickets. So everyone, not sort of like categorising them as foreign fans and tourists and day trippers and stuff like that, but there are plenty of people in the midst of the protests the other week, which went down really well, superbly organised, and credit to the organisers of that protest. There were still thousands of people outside Old Trafford queuing to get in the megastore. Protests bring a certain section of fans together, but you're always going to get that multitude, that massive number of fans that just want to come and have a day at Old Trafford and spend. You take your kid to Old Trafford, you want them to experience Old Trafford for the first time. They're going to spend an absolute fortune in that megastore. It's just the way it is. The Glazers just want people to be coming in from every different corner of the planet every single week, which is what happens at United. But the more of them fans that are coming in and spending fortunes and putting bums on seats is where they want to go with it. If the fans get a chance to speak to Jim, Nice have to be brought up immediately. See, this is the problem with this thumbnail. Every time someone mentions Nice, I keep calling it nice. It's a nice crisis. When is there ever a nice crisis? Another super chat has just come in from Christopher Anfield. The media are not mentioning the catastrophe at Nice because it contradicts their narrative about Ratcliffe. They do not want Qatar. In terms of that, I have to sort of back up the media a little bit on this, because if you just click on Google, say for instance, how well have Nice done under the stewardship or the ownership of Sir Jim Ratcliffe? You'll see many media outlets talking about what Manchester United fans can expect if Sir Jim Ratcliffe takes charge, pretty much like I'm doing now. If you look it up, I think the MEN did one, the Athletic, the Times, I think the Telegraph also did one about what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's time at Nice has been. But no one really looked at that at the time, because all we're thinking about is who is taking charge of Manchester United, because we want the Glazers out. The Glazers out of this football club is primarily where everyone's head is at. But the longer this saga goes on, like it has done, people start to look into it a little bit more. And you'll find that a lot of the media have gone in on Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well. It isn't just a one-way street like it seems. But the PR side from Sir Jim, I think, has just worked overtime on this to make him look the way he is. I agree with that, definitely. It's a nice catastrophe, guys. It's a nice catastrophe, whichever way you want to do it, whichever way you want to put it across. Super chat from Sam says, I agree with what Mark said. If Qatar buy United, then media will go mental if they pull out and buy another team. No one will care. Everyone hates us. Everyone does hate us. And if Qatar did go and buy someone else, it probably wouldn't be as big news. It wouldn't be as big news. Manchester United. It is always going to be. The media cannot live without Manchester United. It is the biggest story in sport, in world sport. Everyone is talking about Manchester United, whether it's here, Scandinavia, Asia, America, all the way over to Australia, the massive fan clubs over there. Everyone is talking about Manchester United. It is the main story. And if this wasn't happening to United, it was happening to another club, it would get nowhere near the clicks and article space that it's got right now. It is the biggest story in world sport right now. That's a fact. And everyone is looking at it. And like what Mark said, it's right. If it was happening to someone else, it probably won't get the coverage. It really wouldn't. And that's just what it is. That's the law and that's the power of Manchester United. That's the reach, the branding that this club has got. It's absolutely crazy. And like I said, Sir Jim's PR side has just gone to town on it. And he's worked it well. He's clever at what he does. Let's be fair. When it comes to owning a football club, we can say what we want. We don't like it. But he knows what he's doing. And you can't discard that. He is a businessman who has done this before. He's very savvy. And he will do what he has to own Manchester United the way he wants to own it. And he really won't care about the fans. Owners with this amount of wealth cannot afford to care about the fans. They can hear the noise and they can listen to it and bag it. That's basically what it is. Look at the Glazers. I mean, the fans actually stopped the Premier League game from happening. And that's when fans weren't even supposed to be at stadiums, but they stopped it. Doesn't matter. They still carried on going. There's protests and everything. At the end of the day, the fans are not what stops or what has put the Glazers in this position right now. They've been backed into a corner financially. COVID, with the way the banking world is and how much debt is on the club and the financing that's going to cost and the spiralling debts. The Super League not happening, not being able to sell their own commercial viewing rights and everything like that. The pot has run dry. That's why the Glazers are jumping ship. It's nothing to do with everything that everyone's kicking off about off the pitch or what the fans are saying. We have come together as a fan base and we've made our voice known, and I've said this all along, and that's what's good about this. One voice is better than mixed groups of Manchester United fans, but the Glazers have just run out of money. That's why they're selling. That's the reality of it. Super chat from Dazzle Bear. If Glazers could make us play in America every week, they would. They definitely would do, yes. They aren't bothered about who goes to the games. Exactly, mate. It's exactly what I said. Another super chat in from Kipper says, 50 years a United supporter, Radcliffe can stick his assets where the sun don't shine. Yep, there's a lot pretty much on that page, mate. We're agreeing with you on that. Because assets count for nothing when it comes to actually putting money in Manchester United. It's just a piece of paper where it tells you how rich you are because of what you own. Not how much money you're going to invest in a future purchase, which is Manchester United. That's where we're at with it. Another super chat in from Umar says, big up, Vinicius Jr. Journalists need to focus on racism in Italy and Spain the same way they do the Qatar issues all day, every day. Racism out. 100% agreeing with that. And United Stand did put a tweet out yesterday backing Vinicius Jr. It was an absolute disgrace what happened at weekend, and there's no room for it in football. Big up, best super chat of the day so far, the reality and what is more important in the world right now. But yeah, that pretty much sums up Sir Jim Ratcliffe in 20 minutes in terms of what's coming to Manchester United. Where is his money coming from? That's what you've got to ask yourself. Where is the money that we need investing in Manchester United coming from? That's what you got with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I don't know is the answer to that. And the reason we say it like that, and the reason we break it down like that, is Sir Jim was the only person coming into Manchester United. We probably wouldn't be scrutinising it as much. Let's be honest, as fans, we just want the Glazers out. And if Sir Jim was coming in and taking charge, then we probably wouldn't be looking at the Qatar bid. But what Sheikh Jassim has done and what he has planned out shows everybody that there is a brighter future in terms of this football club and how it's run and how much money has been invested and how successful it can be, because we've seen it. We've seen the success of Manchester City, the investment that Abu Dhabi put back into the Manchester and surrounding areas. Everything that they built there was built with workers from the area. Nothing was imported material-wise. It was all sourced from within the country. It kept everything in place. This is a similar thing to what Qatar bid and what the Qatar bid would bring in. This is where it just looks a lot. It looks so much better. It looks so much brighter, and why the fans are probably swaying towards the Qatar bid. It's what it is. I mean, when we were talking with Mark the other day in terms of everyone's the morals of the whole Qatar takeover, it doesn't stop the government and the trade deals with Qatar. That's like what Mark was saying there. When you delve into it, everyone can push their own agenda however they want. But the facts are, for Manchester United on paper right now, the Qatar bid works better for us because the investment is coming from one direction. It's coming from one man say so, and no one else involved or anyone else putting their tuppence in and making any decisions. There's nothing to debate in anything moving forward. We need to invest in the youth team, the infrastructure, the women's team. One man, there you go. Signed off, done. Player sales, player transfers, finishing contracts, sacking people. One man, done. No debating between board members or different members of the Glazer family. If Sir Jim comes in, you've got the Glazers and the rest of the shareholders and whoever else is still involved at Manchester United, because they're not all going, are they? He's only buying the majority, and that's the difference with it. He actually owns Nice outright, and we've seen what having full ownership of a football club has done. And like we've just talked about there, in terms of how Sir Jim has actually run Nice, it's not encouraging. It's not encouraging at all. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up them points in terms of trying to balance everything out here, because some people have said on this show that we've been ignoring the Qatari bid and putting forward Sir Jim's. It's not. We're just breaking it down and trying to put in place or trying to show everybody both sides of the argument, because it's like Sir Jim, some people would say, and before anybody found out, like I said before, that the Glazers might still be involved in Sir Jim's bid, then you look at it and you go, probably didn't have a problem. But everyone's delved into it a little bit deeper. What is Sir Jim going to do? Where's he come from? Where's the money coming from? Beforehand, when it was just the Glazers going, it wasn't so much of an issue, was it? But mention the Glazers anything at all, in any aspect, then everyone's going to kick off even more. Let's get through a few of your comments on this. I'm just going to do my usual and freeze the page. Let's just see. Let's just see. Oh, yeah, here we go. Phil Sheridan. I like to mix up the comments. I'm not just going to pick out the good ones. Adam, you have no idea about the finances of Ineos or possible financial structure for Manchester United's acquisition. No, I don't. If you feel good about sending that message, good for you, Phil. But I'm just saying what's been said and breaking it down. The facts are, under the stewardship of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Nice have won jack shit, mate. And they've gone down the pan. They are 9th in the league. Whereas before he came in, they were finishing in the top 4 every other season at least, and were apparently the best run club in French football. Now David Brailsford's come in and took the reins alongside Sir Jim Radcliffe. They've gone down. They're facts, mate. Table doesn't lie. Results don't lie. And players coming in don't lie who have failed. Managers being sacked constantly is a trend going there, isn't there? So no, maybe I don't know exactly how the structure will run, but I'm guessing if you want to look at a model, the Nice one isn't giving me much encouragement. It's exactly what I said. So yeah, you can jump off that one as well. Man City won the Premier League, under-21s and under-18s league. Imagine that. This is where we're at. This is where we're at with it in terms of infrastructure, investment in the right way. And that's why the Qatar bid looks so good to everyone. That's like I said. It's a choice what club... It is a choice what club you would like to be, PSG or Nice. Not sure where you're going with that one. If it was a choice, maybe not it. I don't know. But Sir Jim should just walk. 90% of the fans do not want him. They won't announce it. I mean, I was told that Thursday was probably going to be a big day in terms of announcements. But again, I take that with a pinch of salt. Everyone's saying one thing. Rob Dawson of ESPN said there's going to be delays now in terms of the Glazers making a decision. The main factor behind that is because they don't know where they are at with actually owning Manchester United. They don't know where they're going as an ownership, as a family. Well, yeah, you do. You're going down the pan because you're bleeding money and there's nothing left out. There's nothing left to take out of Manchester United. That's where you're going. So it's like I said, that story alone there from Rob. We've had him on the show. He's a friend of the show as well from ESPN. I don't really read much into that personally. They know where they're going, and the delay on this, I mean, delay till the end of the season. The end of the season is basically this weekend, so we're expecting something by the end of this week. That pretty much is near enough the end of the season anyway. But I just think it has been dramatised a little bit. The Glazers have to leave Manchester United. There's no way they can stay. There's no way they can stay in power, and I think this is why we are where we are now. Like I said before, they've run out of money. There's nothing left for them to take from it, and that's it. Time to move on. Business, they've maxed out. They sell. They move on. Manchester United has maxed out under the Glazers. We ain't going to get any further. Scraping the barrel and maxing out a credit card this summer and bringing in the best-in-class manager has got us to 3rd, 4th in the Champions League. We cannot get past that. That's it. With this current squad and everything above it and the way the transfers are structured and how we're being run, there's no way that we can get past that. We are where we are. The Glazers can't take us any further. They cannot get any more money out of Manchester United. That's it. They have to go. Simple as that. And that's why we are where we are. You don't bring players to the table like the Qatar bid and Sheikh Jassim, the richest man in Britain, Sir Jim Radcliffe and Ineos. Like I said, turnovers of between 65 and 80 billion. You don't bring players like that to the table, involve the Rain Group to try and sort this out if you ain't leaving. There's no situation where Manchester United aren't being sold or new ownership isn't coming in. That's how I see it right now. Super chats in from Angie. Morning, Adam. What's happening? I've only just tuned in. Glazers out, full sale only. I will touch on that in a second. Did you send 2 super chats, or is my computer completely spazzed out? It looks like 2 of the same one. Computer spaz out. Yeah, technology fails this morning. In terms of updating where we was, we've gone into detail on what would happen to Manchester. We've used a blueprint of Nice and how that club has been run since Sir Jim Radcliffe has taken charge. If he did come into power, this is how it would be. Dante, the club captain from Nice, has been talking to the media, saying how there is no cohesion within that club, how everything is up in the air, it's not being run very well. 9th in the league, another failed season. Buying has-been Premier League players, not working, sacking managers. Under their ownership, Nice have gone downhill, not getting anywhere near the top 4 or lifting any trophy since they've owned the club. Just an example of, yeah, Nice is a smaller club than United. It may not work that way with United, but breaking that down and moving into the financial side of things, where is the money coming from to Jim Radcliffe? If he wasn't able to take Nice to another level with not much debt, or probably no debt because he bought it outright, then what's he going to do with Manchester United? With the Glazers' debt, and then the debt that he's having to leverage to buy Manchester United as well. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. But in terms of the delays which we're on to now, how long can it be? I mean, I think we've all accepted now that the transfer window is up in smoke. I threw 4 striker targets off a piece of paper out the window this morning. Højlund, Vlahovic, Kane, Osimhen. I think we can just wave goodbye to them targets. I think Manchester United, and like what Fabrizio Romano was talking about in terms of Kim Min-jae and Manchester United's pursuit of him, I think is where United are at. 50, 60 million euros, that sort of structured deal, that's the best we can do. Yes, Manchester United are interested. We have been scouting him for time, like Fabrizio Romano has said, continuously, and Ten Hag is a fan of his. I could see that deal happening for United. No one else seems to be at the table at the moment. And obviously, when that release clause kicks in at the start of July, Manchester United are reportedly all over that and are willing to pay it. That's where we're at with that target. So then you look ahead, like I said in the last show, we desperately need a striker. Again, we can prove that point against Bournemouth. Toothless up front. I think our midfielders had more shots. I think the 2 shots we had on target in the first half both came from Casemiro. Obviously, one of them was the goal and one was a speculative shot from outside the box. For a dominating performance like 60% we had, for us to have that was our only chances sort of created, our shots on target, our shots on goal even. Pretty poor. The rest of the game, all I can remember is Bruno shooting from distance. I can't remember any of our forwards actually having a shot. I can't. And that's why Manchester United need a forward. Then we look at other possible targets. I'll get into them in a second. I'm just going to read a couple of super chats out again. YouTube name Glazers Out. You'll be a favourite in this one, I hope. How can someone want Glazers out at the same time wants a gym with the Glazers still in? It's a question for you guys to answer amongst yourselves. That one will cause a fight, no doubt. Just tuned in, but the Glazers are selling United still. Yeah. That's where we're at. I'm pretty certain that is how we're going to be. You've added back onto that one. That's my favourite name. There is a zombie. Adding more debt on by having his flight over to the cup finals. $500,000 out of our pocket. Yeah, that was another story that came out. I think it was Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic was saying it's cost United some $250,000 just to fund taking Avram to the cup finals recently, the Women's Cup final and obviously the Carabao Cup final. I'm sure he will be strolling up in just over a week's time to Wembley for the Manchester Derby Cup final as well. It just pains me to see the man, to be honest now, just strolling up there and doing what he can and doing what he wants at the expense of the club. I mean, to be honest, any owner would probably... any owner with anyone, any note would be at a cup final for his football club, so we can't really expect that. I think it's just been highlighted because it's another costing. How he gets the private jets and everything over just to come to the big showcase game of the season. It really riles fans, it really does. The Glazers are killing our great club. Piece by piece, says Andy Bell. Cheers for that one, mates. Adding more debt on by having his flight over for the cup final. Oh, that's pocket. I've read that one out already. Sorry about that. You got 2 mentions there. There is a zombie. But yeah, in terms of where we're at right now, delay-wise, and everything going on at the football club, I think it's just having to change. Our transfer plan has gone out the window. We talked about this before, but you want to break it down in detail and understand where we're actually at. It would be someone like Kim Min-jae, like Fabrizio Romano has reported, for that sort of price. Evan Ferguson from Brighton, that's sort of United's window. That's where we're going. So we're going from Kane and Osimhen, and no disrespect because Evan Ferguson does look like an absolutely outstanding prospect and has got quality definitely there for everybody to see, but it's another prospect, another young player we're having to buy instead of having to actually help Ten Hag. In fact, help Ten Hag and bring a player in that can fit now. Evan Ferguson, who just signed that new deal at Brighton, because Brighton are very clever and obviously know that their best players are going to be targeted, that would then trigger the maximum price United would have to pay for him. This is where Manchester United are at. No organisation right now because of what's going on with the debacle and the saga of the ownership. United should have had an Evan Ferguson deal lined up already. They should have had a striker lined up, deal done, negotiations sorted. Like we spoke about with Mark Ogden from ESPN the other week, it takes a year to get a transfer over the line. Clubs of any standing, City do it, Liverpool do it. It's why you see Liverpool and City getting their players what looked like to us over the line quite quickly in the transfer market. No, they've just been doing their due diligence and getting everything done and organised while the season's been going on. Speaking to the club where the player is, keeping it under wraps, organising it, running it properly, and then when a window opens, bang, there you go, deal done, in the bag. United just don't look, and it could be going on behind the scenes. They say it's business as usual at Manchester United. They say that we are still moving ahead with transfers. The Glazers have given their okay, and whatever okay means from the Glazers, to actually carrying on with possible targets that Ten Hag wants. It just means that the targets that Ten Hag wants, he'll have a 1, 2 and a 3. We're probably looking at the 2s and the 3s again right now. I'm not saying they're bad players, but they're not the top targets. They're definitely not. Prime example of how bad a window is was last summer, as good as it was in the end, and why it wasn't organised. This football club made Ten Hag feel that we were going to get Frankie de Jong. That's how it was. It was there all summer. The club were confident. They were having meetings with Barcelona, and we waited and waited and waited, and in the end, it fell through, and we looked like another laughing stock in the transfer market. Ten Hag got a big slap of reality of how this football club is run last summer. If we'd have organised properly, we probably would have got Casemiro over the line early. We probably could have got Anthony done and dusted for 20 million cheaper, and we might have even had more than one player go on the tour and help Ten Hag work with these players and prepare himself for the season properly, rather than getting smashed in the first 2 games of the season. I remember standing there after our last pre-season friendly outside Old Trafford saying, we are not ready. And that was the week before the Brighton game. We had a pre-season friendly at Old Trafford. We drew. It was a drab 0-0, drab 1-1, I think it was. And you look at it and you go, I looked at it and went, we're not ready. Lo and behold, first 2 games of the season, got absolutely played off the park, smashed off the park by Brighton and Brentford, and Ten Hag had to go to drastic measures, dropping Maguire, dropping Ronaldo, just to try and get that message across. And luckily, the way he's worked and how good he is, has actually, it worked for us. Like Casemiro said it, he's come out and said it. This manager has respect for the players and the fans and needs to be given time. Yes, he does need to be given time. But is everyone going to give him time? Such are the demands of trying to catch up to Manchester City. He isn't going to be back properly this summer, by the looks of it. Anything can change, and we could have new ownership in and everything look a little bit more positive. But right now, we don't look like we're anywhere near ready for this transfer window, and we're going into it again. Ten Hag has done everything. He's met the brief, he's hit the targets, and we are where we should be right now. We can't go any further, like we said. He's maxed us out. He's done his job. Now back him and let him take us to that next level. No, we're not. We're stuck. Stuck where we've always been, which is dilly-dallying and hoping that we can make something of a transfer window. Casemiro, one of the most decorated players at Manchester United, experienced everything. I've seen everything at the highest level, knows what Erik Ten Hag is, knows how good this manager is. He has told him we need to give him time. He needs to be backed. Manchester United's answer to that is still no ownership sorted and no idea what's going to happen this window. More detail on that in a minute, because it does look like Manchester United are restructuring their window now, and it does look like everything is changing. Jim, he's banking on future proposed revenue streams to fund his ownership. If it don't happen for a decade, his ownership and United are in trouble. Like I just said then, Ian, cheers for the super chat. It is basically about what Manchester United bring in. That's what it's all about. I don't know where his financing is coming from. It does look like United right now are restructuring their window. When you hear noises like Palestra getting a new deal, obviously Ahmad coming back, he's going to be assessed. I'm all for that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but in terms of United's targets and looking like we're going into this window with realistic targets, then you look at it and go, I ain't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. We're hearing stories that Alexis Mac Allister is already sorted and done and dusted for Liverpool from Fabrizio Romano. Case proving what I just said there. Organised, structured, knows exactly what they want from their transfer window. One player in, certain players out, start of the window, Klopp goes on tour with new players in place, starts working on what he needs to be in the perfect position to start the new season. Manchester United, we put a full video out saying thank you and goodbye to Phil Jones. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but for a player that's actually not contributed for, 4, 5 years, done nothing but cost the club money. I feel horrible saying this because I really feel sorry for Phil Jones and his career, but the reality is this is the difference in cutthroat football. The two clubs that have been really successful over the last 4 or 5 years, Liverpool and Manchester City, James Milner, Firmino, Naby Keita, see you later, that's all done, it's been announced. Them players are gone. And already we're hearing that Alexis Mac Allister is coming in the other way. And they're already getting things sorted and done and dusted. Manchester City are planning for 2 cup finals, having lifted the Premier League trophy. And probably, just because that's how City run, have already got their targets with however else they improve their team. It's horrible to say, but it's like, how do they improve their team? Who comes into City and makes them better right now? So you would say Bellingham maybe, but they've got their targets in place and they're ready to move on. Manchester United, like I said, the biggest news coming out, directly out of the club this week was Phil Jones leaving Manchester United and his goodbyes. Could that not have waited until the end of the season? Why was that announced when the season's still going on? That's my question on that. I just don't know why that came out when it did. And I'm all for Phil Jones, like I said, probably one of the most unluckiest players in football. But we're still fighting for trophies. We're still trying to finish the top 4 and we come out and say thank you to Phil Jones. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Some may think I'm being a bit cutthroat there, but honestly, if we are to compete with the likes of City and Liverpool, I think we just need to sadly take a little look at their blueprint and how they're running their football club, because we've fallen way behind that. And yeah, that is exactly where we're at right now with that. Palestra, new deal, looking at players coming in, haven't got a clue. Whew, it's tough. It's tough to see the positives. It really is. But I look at it and I go in, that striker, I don't know who that striker is going to be right now. In fact, I think we should make a poll. We've not done a poll yet. We've got to do a poll every Monday. It's standard. I'm just having a bit of a notification coming through. Told to just double check certain things. Let me just see. Right, okay. Let's bring it up. Sorry guys, bear with me. I'm just checking for anything that's coming out and breaking while we're talking. Yeah, I was gonna touch on this earlier on as well, actually. But the MEN have run the Dean Henderson story about Nottingham Forest. Now, after securing their Premiership safety, now looking to spend that money that is there guaranteed on Dean Henderson and making that a permanent deal. Now that will please a lot of Manchester United fans. If United take out 30 million out of that, then that's good business. It is good business. But sadly, it's good business for the Glazers because they're still in charge of this football club. Where is that money going to go? Is that going to go into we need to sell to buy? 30 million for Dean Henderson definitely is a good deal for me. I think United should snatch Nottingham Forest's hands off. I mean, youth players coming through that we might have to sell. It's just part of how successful football clubs are run. Not every youth player is going to come through like a Garnacho and actually make it into the first team. So what happens? You have to be a bit savvy. This is where sporting directors of football, however you want to call them, come into their own. They work out these deals, find out the best loanee places for these young players that will enhance them, add value to them. They come back to the club, they're then sold, The money's invested where it needs to go in the football club. That's exactly what's happened to Dean Henderson. And the club need praising for that. If we can make a deal out of this that brings us 30 million, then that's the player gone from the youth system, and that's 100% profit. There's no balancing in that, and that goes well for financial fair play. Anyone sold from the youth team, it's 100% profit, and that's how it works. Against financial fair play, that works really well for us. So Dean Henderson going to Nottingham Forest, that is a good deal if they are spending that amount of money for us. I mean, we had the debate about Dean Henderson coming back, David De Gea staying in goal. That's still up in the air. Again, another sign of how this club is run. We just haven't got a clue, and it's just dragging on and on and on and on. Super chats coming in from El Nasser 99 says, "Morning, mate. Hope you're well. Do you think the Glazers are hanging on due to the whispers of a future in streaming games, which will increase the value?" Like I said, at this stage now, in terms of them hanging on, I don't think that's a case of them finding anything or any way that they can actually still be in power as they are now. You don't bring big players like Sheikh Jazim and Sir Jim Radcliffe to the table if you're thinking of staying at Manchester United. You don't mess people like that around. They're in there now because they've been given the green light to put bids in for Manchester United. And yeah, it may not be accepted, but in negotiations, in business, I'm sure they would not be involved in this process if they didn't think that they were going to be successful, that being Sir Jim and Sheikh Jazim. So I don't think they're hanging on. I think that was one of the only ways that the Glazers could have stayed in power and earned enough money to stay in power. The Super League was one. That failed epically. And in terms of broadcasting rights, streaming rights, things like that, I believe every Premier League club has to agree to it. So if the Glazers were planning on using that United brand and making more money out of it because they can, I think there still has to be an agreement between all 20 Premier League clubs for that to happen. So why would them other 20 Premier League clubs agree to something that's going to enhance one of their biggest rivals or a club like Manchester United? If they can hamper Manchester United in any way, shape or form, they're going to do that. So I don't think they're sort of hanging on for that reason. I do believe it is simply because they're just trying to milk out of this selling Manchester United process as much as possible. That's where the Glazers are at and why we've got these delays. Yes, Avram and Joel would probably still want to see how they can make more money out of Manchester United, but at the end of the day, their ownership and them being in sole charge of Manchester United is coming to an end, and that's the important thing out of all of this. Polls. I was just going to put a poll up. In the current situation right now, with lack of money, which striker do you think Manchester United will end up buying this summer? We need a striker. We have to get a striker. It's plain. So let's make a little poll up on it. Let's go Evan Ferguson. We'll just put the usual suspects in. Harry Kane. Let's go Vlahovic and Højlund. I don't think we're in any position to go for Osimhen. That's why I've not put him in. I would want him, but 130 million, that is not happening. 60, I would say between 50 and 70 million is United's mark of how much we can spend. And I'm saying that because, yes, if we've got 100 million, we bring in someone like Kim Min-jae. We then sell Henderson, possibly sell a couple other players. We could be getting towards the 150 mark to spend, possibly. If we're spending around 50 of that on the likes of Kim Min-jae, it does give us that little bit of room to go out and buy that striker. But I'm just picking up on some other news. That poll is up now, guys, so get voting on that. Right now in the situation, how do you see it going? I remember, that's it. Oh, right, yes. I've just been sent something, yeah, it's doing the rounds right now. Haaland swearing in front of camera. And Wayne Rooney I remember him being suspended because he did the same thing. I think it was against West Ham away. He went up to the camera and swore. But when you're actually holding a Sky Sports News microphone and actually swearing, yeah, I can see why people would sort of kick up that stink. But yeah, it's rules for one and rules for another. I mean, in terms of like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but obviously with City winning the league, did they win the league? Yeah, I think they won the league at weekend, didn't they? But a lot of the journalists have been talking about them and how successful they are and how great they are, and it's been sickening to read and watch. But a lot of them have still gone in on the 115 charges that the Premier League have put upon them, now involved in this process of trying to bring City to justice or bring the claims forward that they've put and them charges that they have put. So in the Premier League's eyes, I think it was The Athletic this morning that was had a headline on it, and I read it and it rang so true in my head. It was like, the Premier League now involved in this process. They claim Manchester City to be serial offenders of everything that the Premier League is and all their rules. Yet the Premier League are handing out medals to this very same team continuously, going back to when these alleged offences took place to now. So, I mean, you look at it and it's like we all have to trust the Premier League to do their job now, yet they're still handing medals out to Manchester City, who they claim to be serial offenders of everything and every rule that they've broke, which pretty much looks like every rule in the book when you count up 115. So, yeah, I mean, it's not been a great weekend in terms of everyone else watching as Manchester United. For United, it's been good and where we're at. In terms of the game against Bournemouth, wasn't a great watch, but a very important victory for United, and one that I think now has seen us over the line. What 1 point we need from the last 2 home games, we are going to do that. I'm confident about that. Everyone was stressing when I was saying the other day about it's not over yet. It is. We're in the Champions League. I think everyone knows that. There's no way that we don't pick up a point at Old Trafford in our last 2 games. Just check on this poll, over 1,000 voting. People still think United are going for Harry Kane. I think that's interesting in the fact that if United can raise that money from the likes of a Henderson sale or something like that, would it be Harry Maguire, Henderson? You're looking at Martial. There's a story somewhere this morning that Martial could be going out on loan again, and it's a joke. It's embarrassing, to be honest. There was a key. I remember reading. It was Dwight York who said it kind of tells you everything. York was bang on with this. What I thought, he said, Martial at the age of 27, 28, going out on loan tells you everything you need to know. That's your prime. And if you're going out on loan for Manchester United at that age, 26, 27, 28, however you want to look at it, then that should tell you everything you need to know about that player and where everything's going wrong. Not good enough. He wasn't good enough at weekend, I didn't think. Again, I feel like him and Sancho are 2 of our most underperforming forwards right now. And like I said, I go back to it. Most of our shots came from our midfield at weekend. We didn't really get a grip of that second half until we made the substitutions of Sancho and Martial both coming off and bringing on Garnacho and Weghorst. And that's crazy to think, because we know Weghorst has his limits. As much as we love him for his personality and his work rate, we know he hasn't got that quality in front of goal. But for us to actually get a grip of the game a little bit more, then that shows you a lot. Martial was just drifting out wide constantly, leaving no one in the middle. Our number 9 cannot do that. United just need to buy that centre forward who we know is going to be in that position continuously through the game. And even when it doesn't seem to be an option, you know you can play the ball into a certain area and that striker is going to be there. That's what Kane brings. That's what these number 9s brings. You can cross a ball. United don't cross balls. We just haven't got anyone who's going to head the ball in the goal. We're useless from corners. We need to work a lot more on it. But in terms of the forward coming in this summer, it has to be the right type of forward more than who the forward is. Yeah, there are forwards that have got qualities, but it has to be one that fits Ten Hag's system. I don't think Martial fits it. I really don't. I looked at him, I watched him up close in that Bournemouth game, and he's not there. He really isn't there. He's just not got it anymore. The potential is oozing out of the man, and we're seeing glimpsing moments. But this is Bournemouth, and we had no way through. I can't remember him penetrating once. And people like Ricky will say he didn't have the delivery. He didn't have the didn't have anyone making the passes to him. But Martial drifting out wide and staying out wide and then passing between. I mean, Sancho and Martial fell over each other's feet so many times in that first half. It's like, yeah, it's nice, it's pretty, the interchange is good, but who's in the box? Who's there? You need to go out and buy that striker, that one who's just going to stay there. We need that Ruud van Nistelrooy type forward, in my opinion. The link-up play, yeah, his link-up play, it's pretty, it's nice, but when you haven't got anyone to put the ball in the back of the net, it counts for absolutely nothing. Manchester United need to sign that striker. Kim Min-jae, great. It's a player that I want. It's a player that I think we need. We also need that striker. The news of Dean Henderson being sold to Nottingham Forest is only going to help. It's going to help us with financial play, and it's going to help our purse in terms of how much we can spend in the summer. That's important in all of this. And I feel like buy to sell is literally where we're at right now. We've gone over Sir Jim Ratcliffe and what he brings. I think it'll be more the same. I don't know where his money is coming from in terms of what he's going to invest into United. I could be proved completely wrong and put in my place by it, but all I can do is look at what's happened before, look at Nice and why we went into detail on that this morning. Dante, their club captain, complained about how the club is run, looking at the ownership of Sir Jim Ratcliffe since he's been there at Nice and them going backwards and backwards and backwards. Beforehand, they were the best run club in Spain, according to financial and football experts over there, and they've won nothing. They were in the top 4 continuously 3 times in the 6 years previous to Sir Jim taking over, looking well, balanced books, run well from top to bottom in terms of people behind the scenes. Sir David Brailsford gets a role in there under Sir Jim Ratcliffe's ownership. He starts sacking people, including Sir Jim's brother, and then it just spirals and goes down. The players that they've brought in, Kasper Schmeichel, Pepe, Ramsey, Barkley, wow, these are players that just, you know, have failed and haven't been able to perform at the highest level, not continuously. And that's what they were bringing in. Now, what would that do and how does that equate to Manchester United? We don't know. But if it did go wrong like it has at Nice, it would just be a bigger wrong at Manchester United because of the size of the football club. But that's pretty much where we're at. There's going to be loads coming out this week, I'm sure, about the ownership. Like I said before, I'm not having that news from ESPN that the delays are because the Glazers are still thinking about owning Manchester United. Like I said, I don't think you bring big players to the table like Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe if you're not serious about selling. I feel like we will get some more news towards the back end of this week. The United stand will be there covering everything as we always are. I will be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Adam Talks. Another guest coming on. So stay tuned for that one. I'll fill you in on details on that tomorrow in the build up to that show. So yes, that's where we're at right now. Matt will be back later on as well this afternoon, guys. So stay tuned for that. In terms of the vote and the poll before it finished, everyone still thinks we're signing Harry Kane, even with the lack of funds. Maybe that news about Dean Henderson coming in and being sold, giving us a bit more extra money and a bit more spending power in the window, is still convincing people that Kane can come to Manchester United. Well, guys, that is it for now. Thanks for tuning in. Give the video a like on your way out. Like, share and subscribe. As always, hit that bell notification button. You're going to need it over the next few weeks. Transfer news, ownership news, everything. Special shows. It's all coming your way. Make sure you do subscribe to the United Stand. We will be back through the week. And Mark is back this afternoon, everybody. So stay tuned and I will see you through the week.